Hello, everybody. I hope everyone is doing good, and welcome to my first movie review. First of all, I want to say happy Halloween because as I'm recording this right now, I want to edit it and have it come out on Halloween. So, hopefully, you are watching this on Halloween. And I didn't like, and I didn't like post this earlier or later. But yeah. I'm actually pretty nervous to do a movie review because this will be my first time doing something other than gaming on the channel. So I am pretty nervous, but I saw the movie in theaters. The FNAF movie, because it originally came out on Peacock, but it's also in theaters. So like you can check it out. You can watch it both at home and in theaters. But I had such thoughts I could not ignore to the point where I thought, why not just make a video on it? And that's what I'm doing. So before this intro gets too long, let's go ahead and dive into the movie review. This is Five Nights at Freddy's 2023. Oh wait, I forgot to add this into the video, but in my last video, we finally finished the Walking Dead series, season 1. I will link that, so be sure to go check that out if you were interested in that series, but I am like so glad to be done with that game. And also, for some reason I did not say this, but this video will contain spoilers. So like if you haven't seen the movie yet or you don't want a review with spoilers, please go watch the movie first, then come back. So this video will still be up. I'll still be here. So yeah. I also want to say these are my thoughts and my thoughts only. So if you enjoyed the movie, that is perfectly okay. And also, don't let my opinion decide whether or not you personally like the movie, because we are all allowed. The beautiful thing about us as humans is that we're all allowed to have our own opinion. So if you like the movie but I didn't, that's fine. Or if I liked the movie and you didn't, that is also fine. Because my opinion does matter. But my opinion also should not affect whether or not you want to enjoy the movie, if that makes sense. But yeah, even though it's common sense, I feel like I still have to say that just in case people want to come at me for my opinion on this movie. But yeah, other than that, I do hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so before we start, I want to go ahead and let y'all know this takes place in a completely different FNAF universe. Like the lore that we grew up learning, like from the Afton family to like the purple guy, like all of that we learned, it does not correlate with this movie plot at all. I mean, don't get me wrong, they still kept some characters like Michael and William Afton and even Vanny for some reason, but like even though they kept certain people, the universe that this takes place in is completely different from the actual FNAF games, if that makes sense. But yeah, this takes place in a small town with the main character being Michael Schmidt, not Afton, but Schmidt. And he originally has the job as a security guard, but like at a mall. But like, so like it's safe to assume he likes being a security guard of some sort. But he sees this kid in the mall get like snatched up by a grown man, and like he automatically assumes that the kid is being kidnapped. I mean like as anybody would, because it looked like the kid was actually being kidnapped. So like he chases after the guy and like beats him up in front of everybody, but turns out the guy was actually his father. So like Michael gets fired, obviously, and his manager, who like we later find out who he actually is, but his manager says like, hey, like you got fired, however there is this other job and it's pretty easy, all you gotta do is watch some cameras and look after some animatronics. And at first Michael declines the job, but like after a while, when he decides like he really needs like some money, he then decides to take the job. And that's basically when the movie actually starts. So one thing I like to do with movies is like I like to rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being like the best movie I've seen and 1 being the absolute worst. This movie sits at like a solid 5. I feel this movie could have been so much better, and it just wasn't. Everything, I heard a lot of people say this, but like the plot felt rushed. Like it felt like they just had to come up with a script last minute. Like it felt like that. And then not only that, but they changed up so much. I know they did it for the plot of the movie, but I felt some things could have stayed, like having like the whole Afton family and keeping some of the lore in, so like that the movie made more sense. I felt they could have did that. And it feels like a slap in the face to like the hardcore FNAF fans, like the fans that have been there since the first game type stuff. It feels like a slap in the face, cause like I said earlier, all the stuff that we learned about the lore and inside of the games, none of that showed up, except for the fact that William Afton was the guy that murked all the kids, right? Like it's not. It was it was just a load of BS, and a lot of people were incredibly disappointed, and I understand why. I also feel like Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, like they were treated as side characters, and like even though the movie should have been about them, it was not about them. And same thing with the diner. Like it felt like Michael was treating the night guard job as like a side quest in a film, and like no, a side quest in a game, and it showed. And it was more about the people than the actual animatronics, and I think that was like one of the main problems of this film. Don't get me wrong, like this isn't the first movie to do something like this. I also feel like the Jurassic World franchise is guilty of this, because like I personally feel like in the Jurassic World franchise they turned it more into a love story about Claire and Owen instead of focusing on the literal dinosaurs that were like, you know, being taken care of. It just wasn't. It felt like it should have been more. You know what I mean? It really should have been more. Another thing I want to add is like you can tell that the movie is geared more towards children. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's not really a problem because there's a good portion of the FNAF fandom that is kids, but also at the same time, there's so much gore and bloodshed in in all of the FNAF games, to the point where it's like children. The main audience should not be children, but they had themes that only children would like, and the horror aspect that was in all the FNAF games, almost none of them were in this film, and I feel that was another problem. I felt the film wasn't scary, like it was nothing like the games in a bad way. Cause like I'll compare it to the Mario movie. In the Mario movie, like it kind of had nothing to do with the games, but like in a good way, because the Mario movie was able to make its own plot based on the games, and it worked out pretty well. And the reason I'm comparing the Mario movie to the FNAF movie is because Mario is also based on a video game, and it was one of the movies that actually did pretty well. Another thing I just thought of, you can also use that with the Sonic movie. Like the Sonic movie had nothing to do with the Sonic games, but it still worked out pretty well because they were able to base the plot off of the Sonic games and be kind of original with it. And like I said with the FNAF movie, one of the main problems was like they had material to work from and did it wrong. Like they didn't do it right, and they made their own plot, but it was so bland, and they geared away towards the games, and I feel that was also one of the main problems with the movie. I even saw a YouTube comment that said that most of the movie was just fan service, and honestly, I couldn't agree more with that. It really felt like fan service. Like it had nothing to do with anything. It was just a movie just to be a movie. Like it was an hour and 50 minutes of fan service, and like I said, I honestly could not agree more with that statement. Speaking of fan service, I want to talk about Vanny's character specifically. She when you see Vanny in the movie, she's introduced as just a regular cop that patrols the diner. Like she patrols the restaurant or whatever, and she's the first thing I noticed was that she was introduced as a love interest, and like, if y'all don't know Vanny, she's from the FNAF Security Breach game, and she's not introduced as a person of like romantic interest. She's introduced as like this security guard that wants to capture Gregory, the main character in FNAF Security Breach. And for her to like, for them to turn around and make her like almost like a love interest was so weird to me. Don't get me wrong, like her and Mike, they didn't get together in the movie, but like it's hinted that like they might. like like you have to see it for yourself. Like when she's introduced, it's so, they give it like a romantic tension. It is so weird, and I can't really describe it for real, but that was one of the main things that kind of supported the fan service argument, and I kind of wanted to share that. But I also want to talk about the main character. I want to talk about Michael's character. They I don't know how to describe it, but they wrote his character in such a weird way. Like I said, we didn't, past lore has nothing to do with this movie. They made Michael into like his own character, and so he's not related to William Afton at all in this movie. He has a sister and a brother that went missing. I don't even know if it's important enough to put in this video, but I felt like, I don't know, just share it just to share it, I guess. Basically, like, he's watching over his sister. He's basically her guardian, and he, like, I will say one of the things I like about Michael's character is that they wrote him to be a little bit relatable, but his character was still written in a weird way, especially with the scenes that like he had those weird vivid dreams and like chasing the kids to help him find his brother. I felt that was so weird, and they never explained that, by the way. They never hinted back at it except for the end when William admits that he murked the brother. Like, I don't know, it's so weird. Like, it's, I don't know if I can say the K word on here. So that's kind of why I'm substituting other words for it. But yeah, basically William Afton admits that he K-worded Michael's brother, but like I don't even know if that had any importance to it. I don't know. Like I said, I felt they just added that to the movie just to add it. I don't feel like it had any type of importance whatsoever. And lastly, William Afton. Okay, they treat, like I said with the animatronics, they also treated William Afton as a side character. I mean, don't get me wrong, Vanessa's character, she mentions him every now and then as being like the yellow bunny, like I guess like Springtrap before he became Springtrap. But that's it. Like they almost never talk about William Afton. I felt like the times that they did, it was because they had to, because William Afton was the main reason that FNAF even happened. You know what I mean? So, yeah, they had to mention him to give him like his credit, but also I feel if it wasn't for that, they would have never talked about this man. We don't even get to see William Afton for real until the very, very end, and even then, when it's revealed who he is, it feels so anticlimactic. Like it doesn't. The reveal felt so flat. I heard I've heard other people say this too. The reveal felt so flat and so bland to the point where like it was just unsatisfactory, if that's a word. And it felt blech. It didn't feel good. And like the hype that we should have got from the reveal, we didn't. Nobody in theaters felt it. You know what I mean? Like we saw Springtrap uncover the mask, and we saw William Afton, and we were all like, oh, like, like it's not what it should have been. It didn't give what it was supposed to give. You know what I mean? And that's the best way I can describe it. However, I don't want to be all negative. Like there were some good parts that happened in this movie. The main one being the cameos that people got, like Corey Kenshin, MatPat, the dude from the Game Theory channel. I think that's his name at least. And one other person that I forgot. There might have been another person in there, but like still, I think that was pretty cool. And like people that have been like, I'm not gonna say famously known for contributing to FNAF, but like people that are like really well known for like being a part of the FNAF fandom and being put in the movie. I felt that was incredible. And like, oh, and Matthew Lillard being freaking William Afton. The amount of iconic characters that man has played. Like we talking Shaggy from Scooby Doo, Stu from Scream, like the first Scream movie, and now William Afton. Like I felt that was really cool for him to be a part of the movie and to also be the main villain. Um, the acting was pretty great, especially from Michael. I really like the dude that played Michael. I forgot his name, but I really liked his performance. I felt that was pretty good. And Elizabeth Lale, I know her from being Beck from the You Show on Netflix. I knew her from that. So to see her again and to be a part of something else, I felt that was also pretty cool. But like, but even then, unfortunately, that did not distract me from the disappointment I felt from watching this movie. It felt, even though I loved everybody's performances, I still, I'm not gonna say I hated it. I don't want to say that because I didn't hate it. I liked it to an extent, but I didn't love it. I felt like I should have loved it, especially as a hardcore FNAF fan. Like it really, it really, 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 really should have been better. It should have been so much better. And for even Scott Cawthon to be a part of the film, I really felt it should have been so much better. Like to literally be the creator of the freaking franchise and to still have the movie come out like this, I don't even know what to say. Like it really, that's the best way I can describe it. It really should have been better. It just should have been better. But like for no like for real, think about it. Like if you were the creator of one of the most famous game, okay, I'm not gonna say the most famous game, but like if you were the creator of a really well known game and you were in control of how your movie for your game was gonna go and you let it come out like that, like I wouldn't take that disrespect. I would have to fight. Like like you, I am famous for making one of the most popular games on the internet like ever, and you gonna ruin my movie? Like unless he was why the movie was so bad. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, if it was me, I could never. That's all I'm trying to say. I could never. I also heard people talk about like since it was the fact that Blumhouse was responsible for like the production of the movie. I heard people already did not like it because of that. But I can't really speak on like the company because I don't know. Like I've never seen a bad Blumhouse movie, at least like not to my knowledge. Like so I can't really like comment on that. But that was another thing that I heard people say. But yeah, other than that, like this movie was okay. It wasn't the best thing I've seen, but it wasn't the worst thing I've seen. But like I said, I can't say it enough. This movie could have been better. Like I've I don't mean to be rude, but I've seen fan animations better than this movie. The movie felt like a super long YouTube skit. I feel a YouTuber could have made something like this and it could have came out better than what we watched in literal theaters. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't bad, but like it should it should not have been this average of a movie, especially considering that it was based on a horror video game. Like I said, they had so much material to work with. It was freaking ridiculous, and they didn't take this movie as seriously as it should have been taken. You know what I mean? Like, it was more, you can argue it was more of a comedy than like an actual horror slash thriller film. And for this to be an adaptation and for it to come out like this, it's so, I'm not gonna say shameful, but it's just, I don't know, the movie was stupid, but not in a good way. like people didn't like it for the reasons that they should have liked the film. And that's if you did like this movie. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. I'm just disappointed. That's the best way I can describe it. I'm incredibly disappointed from watching this movie. I expected so much more, and like us as an audience, we did not get what I really feel we did not get what we deserved. like like when I tell you somebody else could have had this movie, I truly mean that. When I say somebody else could have made this and have it come out 10 times better, I truly mean that. I really truly mean that. I just looked up the movie to add on to my point. I'm gonna let y'all know right as of right now, this movie has a 26% on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's the critic score, but the audience score is 89%. And I thought it was gonna be like the Mario movie, like, oh, like the critic score was pretty bad, but the audience really loved it. And really, when it comes to movies on Rotten Tomatoes, really, in my opinion, you should care more about the audience score. But I'm not gonna say the critics were right, because I don't want to give them that satisfaction. But they were on to something. Like, they were on to something when they said this movie was bad. It was, like I said, not the worst thing I've seen, but it sure as hell was not the best. It was nowhere near the best adaptation I've ever seen, and it was. I'm not gonna say it could have been better. I've been repeating myself this whole video, but you know what I want to say. Like, even though I'm saying all of this though, I don't want people to think that, like, from watching this movie, like, oh, like video game to movie adaptations are bad. There are so many movie adaptations that are based on games. I looked up the best ones. This is from Google, so I don't really know if y'all feel the same way about these movies, but like some really good video game to movie adaptations was Hitman, Agent 47, Uncharted, the Angry Birds movie, Scott Pilgrim. Some people really like the Scott Pilgrim movie. Detective Pikachu. I really thought Detective Pikachu was pretty good, but it was based on the anime Detective Pikachu. Like I said earlier, the Sonic film, Rampage, Tomb Raider, and like I said earlier, the Mario movie. There are really good video game adaptations out there that were turned into movies. So I don't want you as a viewer, or anyone for that matter, to think that like all video game adaptations are bad simply because they did not like this one film, because I promise there are so many really good adaptations, especially from video games, that are out there that you can watch that are so much better than this film. But yeah. But yeah, that was it. This is my first movie review. I'm sorry it was so negative. I promise. I do want to do this again though. But if you guys enjoy it, please leave a like and or subscribe to the channel, or do either one, because it's fine with me. I like the support regardless. I have to edit this and this will be uploaded to YouTube. So yeah, like I said, again, I'm sorry this was like so negative, but like I said, it's FNAF. I felt, yeah, even though I'll never play a FNAF game on the channel, I felt the least I could do was talk about the movie that came out, because like I said, I was really excited for this film when it first came out. Or not when it first came out, but when it was first introduced. I was so excited for this. And even though it's a negative review, I still wanted to come on here and talk about it and say my thoughts. But yeah, that's it. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Please let me know if you want me to do this again. I probably will do it again, to be honest, because I like recording and just talking. I love talking. So for me to do that without the help of a gameplay, it felt pretty nice for a change. Speaking of gameplays though, I'll definitely be back with one. I don't know what I'll be playing next though, but yeah, I think that's it. Oh, be sure to check me out on my social medias. Even though I mostly repost stuff, I do occasionally update y'all with the channel, so if you're interested, be sure to go follow me on other things. And yeah, I think that's it. I hope you guys are having a good night or day whenever you're watching, and I will see you all in the next video whenever I choose to upload. I love you all, and bye!